Zhang Xiaofan fantasizes about becoming a top Kung Fu master, but unfortunately he is brought back to reality where he is better at cooking than at Kung Fu. He rushes to set up a meal for his master and fellow students. While eating, his master asks him about his training. Xiaofan happily reveals that he has almost mastered the first level of his training, and all his fellow students immediately start praising him. But his master isn't convinced. So he calls Xiaofan forward intending to test his energy, and despite all his training, Xiaofan begins to crumble within seconds. Seeing this, Ling Er, the master's daughter, started to support Xiaofan from the back, and all his fellow students secretly start transferring their energy to Xiaofan to help him stand straight till their master is satisfied. Despite training for 10 years, Xiaofan was still failing to cross the first level of his training. So Ling Er has been secretly helping him train. They must train in secret because in the Qingyan school it's taboo to learn from another master, and the punishment for breaking this rule can be anywhere from banishment to facing the wall and meditating for 10 years. Xiaofan fails to cross the first level again, and seeing him grow increasingly frustrated with himself, Ling Er decided to take him to his old village to cheer him up. Seeing the abandoned village, Xiaofan is immediately reminded of the day 10 years ago when his whole village was massacred. Xiaofan and his Jingyu returned home to see their whole village engulfed in thunder and lightning. Before they could process what was going on, they saw a masked figure chasing the old martial artist of their village. Xiaofan and his friend get caught in the crossfire and become unconscious. When Xiaofan wakes up again, he sees that the fight is still going. The masked figure was losing the fight, so he used Xiaofan as leverage and delivered a poisonous seven-tailed centipede to his opponent. The centipede immediately bit the old master, but he was somehow still successful in chasing the masked figure away. The next day, Xiaofan and Jingyu returned to the village to find their parents dead. Soon after, Xiaofan's current master stopped by, and he took Xiaofan and his friend back with him. While Xiaofan is mourning, far away in the Qingyan school, all the 7 peak masters are gathered for a meeting to discuss the upcoming tournament that is held every 60 years. The Qingyan school consists of 7 mountain peaks that belong to the 7 masters who have their own set of students and different ways of teaching. So, every 60 years they hold a tournament to see which of the master had produced the strongest fighter. While the masters are away for a meeting, all the students of the 6 peaks decide to gather together to secretly watch the Xiaozhu Peak students training. The Xiaozhu Peak is filled with beautiful female fighters, but the one that attracted the most attention was their strongest fighter, Lu Sueki. When she appeared, all the men started climbing over each other to take a better look at her. Due to the commotion, Xiaofan was thrown out of his hiding place and was immediately caught by the female fighters. The others immediately ran away, and Xiaofan was hung over a cliff by Sueki. Sueki eventually let him leave, but as a punishment she put dozens of itching worms on his body. These worms were notoriously small and hard to find, and even more difficult to kill. This is why his friends tried to lock him in a hot pot, hoping the heat would kill the worm. Fortunately, Ling Er arrived before they could accidentally kill Xiaofan too. She had also brought the remedy with her, which is ridiculously hard to find. Xiaofan is touched by her action and decides that he would work harder to become stronger and confess his love for her as soon as he could. With the tournament nearing, Ling Er sneaks one of her father's secret books for Xiaofan so he could practice and become strong before the tournament. Xiaofan immediately starts training diligently, but every time he was near passing the first level of his training, he felt the bead on his necklace grow hot and hurt him. The necklace was something he had gotten 10 years ago. After the 7-tailed centipede had bitten the old master, he had accepted Xiaofan as his student and transferred all his training and knowledge to him before he died. He also gave him this necklace and told him to get rid of it as soon as he can, but he still couldn't do it. After seeing how it was interfering with his training, he finds the tallest cliff and intends to throw it away, but he is interrupted by a monkey who is determined to get the necklace from him. Xiaofan makes a run for it but ends up falling off a cliff and into the river. He tries to swim back up, but the bead in his hand drags him deeper into the water. Xiaofan suddenly sees a glowing light in the bottom, but before he can investigate further, the bead in his hand changes direction and takes him to the surface. The monkey is still waiting for him on the land, and he bites Xiaofan as soon as he sees him. The blood from his wound trickles into the bead in his hand, and the sky begins to darken. The next thing he knows, a long wand ripples through the water and into the sky, and the bead in his hand grows hot and follows the wand. The 2 weapons began merging, which causes a drastic change in the weather. This alerts the master of the 7 peaks, and they realize that an evil weapon called Blood-Sucking Bead has resurfaced again. Blood-Sucking Bead was a rare treasure that belonged to the Demon King of the demonic clan and was taken away from him years ago. He has been searching for it ever since, and now that it had appeared again, chances are he would come himself to retrieve it. And sure enough, deep in the underworld, the Demon King is watching the 2 weapons merge and orders his subordinates to make arrangements to get it back. On the other hand, Xiaofan picks up the wand and is about to leave when a masked woman appears and attempts to take it from him. Xiaofan is not much of a fighter, but he manages to hang on to the weapon till Shueki and Ling Er arrive for help. Later, when Xiaofan is explaining everything to Ling Er, he realizes that the bite mark on his hand had disappeared without a trace. The same woman returns later that night to try and steal the wand again, but the wand refuses to leave its master, and when she tries to hurt Xiaofan, the wand knocks her out. The next morning, Xiaofan is startled to see her in his bed and gives her his wand just so she would leave quietly. Unfortunately, the wand kept returning to its owner, which frustrated the women, who finally left without it. Later that day, 2 students from Longzhou Peak come to announce that the tournament will be held sooner than they had planned. This puts pressure on everyone to train harder. Xiaofan is going about his day when he sees Ling Er and one of the Longzhou Peak's students named Qi Hao embracing each other in secret. He is heartbroken and goes to a nearby cliff to yell his frustration out. Unfortunately, his friends hear him and he runs away in shame. But as he is running away, he realizes that a group of people were chasing after him. However, soon he realizes that the people weren't chasing him but the woman from the last time, who has suddenly appeared next to him. They hide together in a cave, where the women make several attempts to take Xiaofan wand. After failing every time, she takes out her weapon to kill Xiaofan, but the wand senses danger to its master and knocks her out. Xiaofan is oblivious to all this and treats her with kindness. They slowly open up to each other and the girl introduces herself as Biao. Seeing how genuine Xiaofan is about his feelings, she also opened up about her mother's death and her desire to hide away where no one can find her. Being the kind soul that he is, Xiaofan promises to accompany her when he becomes strong enough. The scene shifts to the day of the tournament, where students from all 7 peaks are gathered. Every peak has selected 7 of their most capable fighters for the tournaments, and the opponents would be chosen by a random draw. The total number of students made an odd number, so they decided that the person who chooses the number 1 ball shall be directly promoted to the next round. The balls were released into the air and everyone around Xiaofan flew to catch one. Xiaofan's kung fu wasn't strong enough to help him fly, so he picked a ball that fallen on the ground. However, before he could pick it up, Shueki secretly exchanged her ball with the one on the ground. To Xiaofan's surprise, he sees that the ball was none other than the number 1 pick that would give him a free pass. When he confronts Shueki, she dismisses his thanks, saying she was here to prove her strength and didn't want a free pass. The tournament begins and 31 contestants get eliminated in the first round, including many of Xiaofan's friends. The scene shifts to later that night, where Shueki is training, but she looks very tired and sick. Her master prompts her to go easy, but Shueki is determined to win this tournament. As it turns out, Shueki didn't want to win this tournament for herself, but for her master, who was slowly getting ill and losing all her strength. Shueki didn't want the other peak masters to view her teacher as weak, and so she was adamant to win this tournament at all costs. The second stage of the tournament began, and Xiaofan was easily able to defeat his opponent thanks to his wand, which acted on its own to save its master. But winning the second round put him directly against his childhood friend Jingyu, who underestimated Xiaofan's strength and ended up losing badly. Jingyu becomes angry at his loss and accused Xiaofan of hiding his strength and tricking him. Xiaofan becomes depressed after losing his childhood friend and ends up throwing away his wand in anger. Everyone was celebrating Xiaofan's victory when their teachers stormed in and hit Xiaofan, accusing him of taking lessons from another master. Otherwise, there was no way he could suddenly become so strong. However, his master soon realizes that the person that's teaching him is none other than his own daughter. He is still angry at Xiaofan, but his wife manages to calm him down. Later that night, Xiaofan's dog drags him into the Xiaozhu territory, where he finds Shueki unconscious beside a river. He helps her and sees the state she was in. He suggests that she quit the tournament, but Shueki refuses and leaves. The next day, all the students and their masters were present for the final match between Xiaofan and Shueki. Now that he didn't have his wand, Xiaofan got badly injured within seconds of the fight, and yet he refuses to give up. Shueki is ready to attack him with her sword when his wand returns to defend its master. Xiaofan prepares to attack Shueki but stops when he sees her bleeding from her nose. Shueki also retreats her weapon in the last moments and pushes Xiaofan to the ground. The 7 masters have recognized Xiaofan's wand as the evil blood-sucking bead, so they confiscate the weapon and take Xiaofan for investigation. On the other hand, the demonic clan has finally shown themselves. Many students get lured into the forest after hearing an infant cry, but it was just a trap set by the evil puppet master, who took control of their bodies and made them kill each other. Several other monsters have also ascended from the underworld, and they began killing all the students to clear the way for the Demon King, who headed straight for the school. The other 7 masters have concluded that Xiaofan wasn't evil and that he had just stumbled upon the bead unknowingly. Suddenly, a student comes running in and tells them about the incident in the forest. They lock up Xiaofan and his wand and go to investigate the matter. Biao takes this opportunity to rescue Xiaofan, but Xiaofan doesn't want to run away, scared that his master would misunderstand him. Biao has no choice but to knock him out and carry him. She is stopped by the wand, but when she explains that she doesn't have any ill intentions and just wants to rescue Xiaofan, the wand quietly follows them. However, Biao was lying. She takes him to her dad, who is none other than the Demon King himself. Xiaofan hardly has the time to feel betrayed before the Demon King starts attacking him. Biao tries to convince her father to take Xiaofan as his student instead of killing him, and when her father refuses, she uses her own power to defend Xiaofan, but she is easily defeated. Xiaofan realizes that he is on his own and puts all his faith into his wand and asks the wand to save him. He manages to deflect the Demon King attack until all the 7 peak masters arrive and start attacking the Demon King. Biao gets heavily injured while fighting Ling Er and Sueki. The fight is fierce, but the Demon King was too powerful, so the 7 masters combine all their power to attack him together. Xiaofan is stunned when he sees the masters using the same thunder and lightning technique that had once destroyed his village. He realizes that all this time it was one of the 7 masters who were responsible for his parents' death. But when he sees his master struggling to hold on against the Demon King's power, he decides to help him regardless of what happened in the past. But when he intervenes, he receives both the negative and the positive energy on both ends, which helps him ascend to another level of Kung Fu. The Demon King immediately realizes that Xiaofan is no ordinary person and that he has 3 different Kung Fu in his body. 1 that he has developed over the 10 years of training, 2 that he has received from his dead master, and the 1 he has developed from using the wand. The Demon King warns the 7 masters that Xiaofan would bring disaster to their school and disappears into thin air. The master becomes scared and decides to kill Xiaofan before he could become a problem. The negative energy within Xiaofan takes control and he attacks everyone that comes his way. He feels even more betrayed when sees his own master trying to kill him. He is about to deliver a killing blow to his master, but Ling Er suddenly appears to save her dad and he hits her instead. Ling Er becomes seriously injured, but she still reaches out to hold Xiaofan's hand, telling him to return to himself. The touch reminded Xiaofan of the time when Ling Er held his hand when his parents had died, and he immediately returns to himself. But it's too late, as Ling Er is already dead. Seeing him vulnerable, Sueki's master orders her to kill Xiaofan. Sueki is reluctant at first, but she is too loyal to her master to deny her. The first attack is blocked by one of Xiaofan's friend brothers, who begs Sueki to let him go before he dies. The second attack is blocked by his master, who asks Xiaofan to leave and never return. For the third attempt, Sueki rushes forward to attack him personally, but then she is reminded of all the time he has helped her and decided to let him leave. Xiaofan gathers an injured Biao in his arm and flies away, promising to take her somewhere no one can find them, and for the first time, we see Sueki's lips stretch into a smile as she watches him go.